What would you do if you were handed $22 million before your 30th birthday? That's what happened to a guy named Elon Musk. You might have heard of him. He proceeded to turn that $22 million into hundreds of billions and has amassed one of the most mind boggling fortunes in history. In addition to being goofy and lovable, he's perhaps the most extreme personification of capitalism that we've ever seen. Was this a coincidence? Was it genetics? Was it extraordinary luck, like finding a golden ticket in a Wonka bar? We're about to sink our teeth into it and find out. If you're even remotely interested in entrepreneurship, technology, or business in general, this is a case study worth savoring. And by the end of the video, we'll be able to extract a superpowered formula that we can use to build something huge for ourselves and maybe change the world. There's nothing to it. Before we get started, I'd like to welcome you to Hoskins Research. If you like the content on this channel, consider subscribing. Now let's get to the Tesla techno king himself, Elon Musk. To understand Elon's mind and mind-blowing success, we need to dig down to his foundation by looking at his personality traits. Don't worry, this isn't going to be some long-winded biography. I'm only going to hit the most relevant factors that allowed him to be hyper-productive in modern capitalism. Let's first discuss his intelligence. Although Elon Musk's IQ score is not publicly known and may have never been tested, it's certainly reasonable to assume that his intelligence is above average. Although never tested, many sources estimate Musk's IQ to be around 150, which would put him 3.3 standard deviations above the mean of 100 and place him in the top 0.1%. Of course, not everyone with a high IQ is successful, and not everyone who's successful has a high IQ. I'm sure we've all met plenty of obscure brainiacs and rich morons, but in general, it's definitely advantageous for Elon to have higher than average cognitive ability, especially in the fields of physics and engineering and economics where he resides. Perhaps more importantly, Musk is an exceptionally hard worker, and he's able to focus intensely on a particular project to the point of obsession. He's mentioned before that he would on occasion work as many as 120 hours a week, despite it being detrimental to his health. Musk has also said that he has Asperger's syndrome, a form of functional autism, and it led him to be more interested in books and computers than socializing. Although this type of behavior is abnormal, it turned out to be quite helpful for Elon in his entrepreneurial pursuits. As I mentioned, Elon had an interest in computers and science in general from an early age. This translated to his education. He earned bachelor's degrees in physics and economics in 1995 from the University of Pennsylvania, which is a highly regarded Ivy League school. He said that physics taught him how to reason using the first principles method, which basically means distilling a concept down to its most fundamental elements and not relying on assumptions or analogies. It's useful when thinking about highly complex, counterintuitive, or unfamiliar subjects, and has served Elon Musk well when starting world-changing companies. Musk co-founded his first company in 1995. It was called Zip2, and it made software that it called an Internet City Guide. At the time, Elon was quite low on cash, needing an investment from angel investors. He slept at the office because he couldn't afford an apartment. Not many people are committed enough, or crazy enough if you wanted to look at it that way, to a company without any proof that it would pan out. You'll notice this theme as we go along in the video, where he bets big on an idea that he has a lot of conviction in, even though it has a low probability of hitting. Zip2 was acquired by Compaq in February 1999 for $307 million, making Elon's 7% share worth $22 million. Almost immediately after hitting his $22 million payday, Elon co-founded X.com, which was an online financial services company that allowed for payments via email. If you're thinking that sounds a lot like PayPal, yeah. X.com merged with another online financial services company called Confinity, which had its own payment system called PayPal. Musk bounced in and out of the company until 2002, when PayPal was acquired by eBay for $1.5 billion. For his 11.72% share of the company, Elon received $175.8 million, his second monster payday in just 3 years. For most people, a cash in of this magnitude would send them so far away to a tropical island that they'd never be heard from again. There's no doubt that that option weighed on Elon's mind, but if you're like him and you have a grand vision and the capital to execute it, you kind of have to go for it. Just a few months later in 2002, Musk put $100 million of his own money on the line to found Space Exploration Technologies Corp., aka SpaceX, with the vision of reducing the costs of rocket launches and eventually making human life multiplanetary. After several crashes and brushes with bankruptcy, SpaceX is now valued at more than $100 billion, which means that Musk's initial investment was multiplied more than 1,000 times, although he doesn't own 100% of the company anymore. Now to Elon's crown jewel, Tesla. Oddly enough, he didn't actually create Tesla. It was founded by Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning in 2003. But Musk was one of the very first investors, putting in $6.5 million into the electric car manufacturer during the Series A funding round in February 2004. And he eventually became CEO in 2008. Like SpaceX, Tesla had some very close calls with bankruptcy around 2009-ish and after, forcing Musk to go all in. At one point, it looked fairly likely that both companies would fail, which would have left Elon with barely two nickels to rub together. He still holds about 1/6 of the company, and with Tesla's stock price skyrocketing beginning in 2020, it took him to the moon, but not all the way to Mars. Elon Musk's story is about fusing together brilliance and determination to create something spectacular. Let's distill this down into a formula that we can use for ourselves. I've come up with 4 primary factors that I believe are responsible for Elon's success. The first 2 are purely capitalistic factors: knowledge and money. Elon had plenty of knowledge from a young age, well before he had any money to speak of. Knowledge is vital for any entrepreneur, and the more you have, the better off you'll be. It's important to have both broad knowledge about various subjects and how they relate, as well as deep knowledge about single subjects. This will help you understand the resources that are available to you and how to organize them into the most productive way possible. Money is the thing that helps you build and scale up. It's like fuel for the fire. The funny thing about money is that you usually don't get it until you've clearly demonstrated a high level of competency and productivity. For Elon Musk, he looks at money as a tool, and it's like a lever that can be pulled to move something. Ironically, if Elon only cared about money, he wouldn't have nearly as much of it because he wouldn't be willing to work as hard or take as much risk. Let's take a moment and just appreciate all the entrepreneurs that didn't retire after making a couple $1,000,000. After knowledge and money, the second 2 factors pertain more to personality, purpose, and high risk tolerance. They sort of tie together because the greater your conviction about something, the more you're willing to wager on it. Purpose has to do with your vision for the future and why you do what you do. Purpose is your energy drink. It's what makes you work 12 hours a day without seeing any returns. It'll give you a higher risk tolerance too. If the thought of losing $1 makes you drink Pepto-Bismol, Your risk tolerance is low. This is going to sound silly and kind of obvious, but something you can do to actually raise your risk tolerance is make more money. Mathematically speaking, the higher your net worth is above your basic needs, the more willing and able you'll be to take risks. Knowledge, money, purpose, and high risk tolerance is an explosive combination, especially in a capitalist economy. Elon Musk is such a fascinating example because he's repeatedly invested massive amounts of money into projects with massive risk reward profiles. Just taking risks for the sake of it is for skydivers. However, realizing big opportunities and having the ability to take advantage of them, that's the hallmark of a great investor or entrepreneur. And that's exactly what we've seen from Elon Musk. Leave a thumbs up if you're a huge Elon Musk fan. Comment below about what you change about the success formula that I came up with for Elon. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with a friend if you found it helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.